Psychologically, it's 100% understandable why they gravitate toward Andrew Tate and kind of people like Andrew Tate. It's like it makes total sense to me. I understand there's a vacuum, there's a hole that like, and that's like they're very self-conscious, they're very like they have self-esteem issues. And yeah, if somebody says like no, there's nothing you need to be self-conscious of. When you walk into a room, you're the best person in it. They really like connect with that and like, oh yeah, okay, I completely understand the psychological like power behind that, and like intellectually, like Andrew Tate is like a fucking genius. He may not let me rephrase that. He himself may not be like a genius, but like as far as marketing, as far as like the power,
I get that.
Like he's not an idiot when it comes to that. He's an idiot because he's an idiot. Like he has dumb views, but like understanding the power of social media, understanding the power of his influence, he absolutely knows what he's doing, and like he should be like respected and feared in that way. I don't mean like he should be respected and feared as a person. Yeah. Like I'm actually, to be fair, he's a fairly accomplished kickboxer, so he probably should be feared from somebody like me who's very out of shape. But like my point is that like you don't underestimate the power of Andrew Tate.
Episode 24, and we are not fucking prepared, are we?
Yeah, no, this is a slapdash. I'm not sure that's a real word. A slapdash week. Yeah, episode 24. We're back. We were supposed to be on another podcast, so I think we didn't prepare as much, but that commitment kind of the timing didn't work out, so we were not prepared to kind of pivot back to our own episode. We were going to use that episode as our episode. So, and I, in all full disclosure, I also haven't been online that much this week. It's been a busy week for me at work. I've had some personal stuff in my life, doctor's appointment, stuff like that. So I just haven't really been all that online. I've kind of scrolled Instagram a couple times and seen some of the stuff going on that we're going to talk about, but I wouldn't claim to be.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there wasn't that much major news or events that happened recently. It's more like personal things. Like I won't name it to ruin anything, but it's more like personal episodes that people are having psychotic breakdowns of ancient philosophers that we used to renown, and and some more sex traffickers. Well, it's your casual week in America.
Yeah, racism, sex trafficking, and human rights abuses.
Yeah, I mean that's about right. That's
the
America.
Three topics we're talking about. Yeah, those are kind of the three things we're going to be talking about. Yeah, but how was your week? How you doing,
dude? Yeah. As of every week, it's been busy, but it hasn't been too bad of a week, to be honest. A lot of work has been picking up, so it's been overtime, and so a lot less sleep. But it's honestly you can see even with my speech that I have not slept much. I think we could say that for both of us. I think I'm in
the same boat. I haven't been working more. I think I've just been working harder.
Finally stepped up, huh?
It's just there's just stuff going on where I work where it's like it's just being more mentally draining and more kind of exhausting what I'm doing. Yeah. I still haven't been sleeping that well. Like I said, I've had a lot of personal kind of commitments and stuff. I've just been running around town and doing stuff, and I'm really low energy today. That's okay. We can just kind of keep it chill.
Low energy Ty.
Low energy Ty. Lowest energy. No one has lower energy than me.
Yeah, there we go. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, what's speaking of like it's in Republican politics anywhere. Anyways, what happened with what was it, RFK? Like just bringing that up randomly.
I saw a random headline I sent to Kanan that was like RFK possibly chooses Aaron Rodgers as his like running mate. Which if you don't know who Aaron Rodgers is, he's a football quarterback. He was a quarterback for the Packers forever. I don't know who he plays for now, if he's still a Packer, but
packing himself into politics, I guess.
Packing into politics. But he's like a crazy anti-vaxxer. Like he kind of went off the deep end. Yeah, as I understand it, I don't really follow.
I mean, who do you expect for him to pick? But from my confusion, didn't he drop out? And so I'm seeing this. He sent me something like, that RFK has a running mate now. I'm like, didn't this guy drop out?
Yeah, I think this was like a fake news headline, dude? Like. Because RFK dropped out, and now that I look it up, I saw that one headline on Instagram. I can't actually find. Apparently he was almost the host of Jeopardy, is what I'm hearing. Oh, so
RFK or the
no, Aaron Rodgers. Apparently he was like one of the front runners for the host of Jeopardy, but he did not get it. Yeah. I guess these articles are from anywhere from 5 to 8 days ago. A few articles are RFK Jr.'s VP prospect Aaron Rodgers has shared false. Oh, this is a different thing about how he's shared false Sandy Hook
Jesus Christ.
Conspiracy theories. Yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is kind of a piece of shit, you know? So, like...
Oh, 100%, but that kind of aligns with RFK.
Yeah, but that tracks with RFK, yeah.
Yeah, but I just kind of threw me off. I'm like, this guy's still running? I'm like, what? You think you're not gonna? You think you're gonna win? Well,
yeah.
Well,
I mean,
what's the thought process? You're
know.
just wasting your money. You're wasting your time.
I mean, it's at this point. I mean, you could say the same argument for Claudia Karina, right? I think it's just about like getting a message and starting a conversation and like forcing the conversation.
That's
because
different.
if you're in the field and you're talking about certain things, you force the major candidates to also talk about those things, right?
Yeah, but that's also different because RFK is along the bourgeoisie. We're fighting as a proletariat.
Sure.
Right? What if he really wanted his voice heard? Okay, half of his voice is the Democratic Party, and the other half, the fucking psychotic half. Well, not if liberals are also fucking psychotic, but the other half, like the anti-vaxxing half, is fucking Republican. So your voice is heard. So just fucking leave. Right? We don't have a voice here on the left. I mean, you could be like, oh, Bernie Sanders. But he didn't win shit.
He started a podcast.
Bernie Sanders,
yeah.
Bro, dude, he's like fucking 80,000 years old. It's like
I follow Bernie Sanders' Instagram account, and I think it was this morning. I saw a post as I was getting ready for work. I was scrolling Instagram, and it was it's just called Bernie the podcast.
Bernie the podcast.
I think it was like this launch, post for his podcast.
Is that gonna? I think that is his sign of retirement. That's just like his post-retirement plan.
Yeah, this is like him just going.
Started a little social dem pod.
I didn't look any further into it. That was literally it. Thought it was funny. Thought it was interesting. So I thought I wanted to call it out, but that was it. Yeah.
Well, speaking on major personalities, what say you that Andrew Tate is finally arrested?
Yeah.
Well, this is Bernie the podcast. Okay, I see it.
Yeah.
He's using that same the image of his hair and the glasses and everything. What say you about Andrew Tate? Man has been extradited to the UK. I don't know too much. It doesn't seem like too much of information is released, as probably legal standards are there. From what I understand, he basically is on house arrest in Romania. The Romanian government placed him on house arrest. And then after they placed him on house arrest, he sent a text message. And of course, he's been on house arrest for months now, so this is nothing new. If you don't know who Aiden Ross is, he is basically a streamer that used to stream on Twitch, moved over to Kick because he got banned for like showing porn or something on Twitch. And so he went to Kick. Yeah, and he has millions of followers, but the dude has the amount of neurons as a fucking fish, right? And he receives a text from, and this is how I understand it. He receives a text from Andrew Tate, basically stating, "Hey, come to Romania. We are about to let's do our last content sesh together." It's like, last content sesh, and he basically explained that he's leaving Romania. Which, if you didn't know, if you're under house arrest, you can't leave the country, yet alone your house. And Aiden Ross talked about this on his live stream. And because of that, the FBI or whatever the secret agency in Romania was notified. And then the UK also was like, all right, time to get this guy over here.
Yeah.
So I believe that he was being sent there over like sexual assault allegations.
Sure. Yeah, I know there's a bunch of charges. I mean, he's facing like a different sexual assault, also sex trafficking, running a sex trafficking ring, and then a bunch of other like fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud. There's a whole like laundry list of all the charges that kind of go along with that. But those are some of the bigger ones.
Yes. I think we have a video here that we can pop up. Here is the day that Andrew Tate is going to be basically pulled out, stuck in a van, and sent over to the UK.
Nice.
Tell us, please, what do you think about the decision for today?
I want to give absolute credit to Romanian justice for making the correct decision today. Unfortunately, I don't think many people in Romania understand, but in the West, in the countries that are owned by the Satanists, when you get to a certain level of fame, you either put on a dress or you go to jail, and I'm happy to make my choice, which is jail every single time. My soul is not for sale, neither are my principles. We are innocent men. No, we're very innocent men, and in time, everybody's going to see that, and we're very excited to finish this judicial process and clear our names.
You are free for now, but still the Romanian court approved.
I do want to say that this involves his brother being sent there as well, so it's not just him.
Yeah, what's his brother's name?
Andrew Tate and whatever the fuck.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Who the fuck cares?
I forget his. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. We'll look it up later.
Tradition to the UK after the trial is over here.
It's very funny because I've been asking Romanian courts to go to the UK myself. I've asked 5 times and been declined. So now I get to go home. That's fantastic.
You will be in the jail again at the final of the process. What do you think about that?
We'll see.
Oh, what measures are better?
Tristan.
Yeah.
That's what his fucking name was.
That's what I just said.
Oh, I didn't hear you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Headphones on.
No, yeah, I didn't hear you. But yeah, so Tristan Tate is his name, but who gives a fuck? The dude's irrelevant.
Yeah.
So
yes, Tristan. Yeah. So it sounds like he's happy. Also, there was one thing. Hold on. There's so much to unpack there. There's a couple comments I have. One is he said you either go to prison or you put on a dress. What does that mean? Does he mean like is that a transphobic comment? I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
I think it is a transphobic comment. I think it's
like,
it's
that
the
seems
whole
completely
woke
out of
thing.
context.
It's the whole woke thing.
Is that what that
just
is?
like
Okay,
either
I have no idea what that's supposed to mean.
He has his masculine blah 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 traditional values,
right?
Or he has to comply with the so-called globalist, Satanist New World Order, where everybody's going to be woke.
Okay,
so he'd rather not be woke. He'd rather be in jail and be the so-called traditional man than actually, have to wear a dress. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, bro. Shut up. Shut the fuck up.
It's funny that he can't even be like extradited to another country without saying like incredibly misogynistic things.
It's like one of the last.
Dude, that's like his. He's always the man is on brand. You got to give him that. Bro. Yeah, you got to give him that. He's always on brand.
But yeah, so he's gonna go in front of the UK court, and hopefully his ass sits in jail for a long time.
Yeah, we'll see. I can tell you, man, from like personal experience, being a teacher, teaching 7th, 8th, and 9th grade boys. I mean, I teach both boys and girls, but teaching 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, and kind of like the damage that this fucker has done, like to like the mentality of like 7th and 8th grade boys.
Alpha male.
Dude, they just like and like
slap the fuck
when a student asks you like, well, how many Bugattis do you own, and I'm just like, I will fucking slap you, kid. Like, obviously, I would never do that. But
no,
it's just
we do not consort to.
We were actually talking
children.
about this in the.
It's just in our head, like you want to slap the stupidity out of them.
Yeah, it's like you just like. But really, what I would do is I would just have like really frank conversations and be like, oh, so you support like sexual assaulting of women? And they'd be like, and I'm like, well, let's actually talk about Andrew Tate. If you want to like pretend to like idolize Andrew Tate or like idolize Andrew Tate, then let's actually talk about Andrew Tate and be like, he's a fucking awful person. And like if you just have like honest conversations, this is a separate conversation, but one we should have at some point is like teaching in America. What I've found is just like if you present just honesty and truth like to students, they'll almost always like make the right decision. So like that gives me some optimism and hope for the future. And if you just like present like, hey, this is what Andrew Tate, who he is and what he's done, they're like, oh, that's awful. And I'm like, yeah, man. Because they only see like the TikTok reels or TikToks and reels and YouTube shorts of other people also idolizing Andrew Tate, because Andrew Tate hasn't posted anything in quite a long time, right? So like they're only seeing that side of it. Yeah. Like the glamorous side. And when you actually talk about like the real side of it, because like these reels aren't circulating on the feed of a 14-year-old's TikTok, right? Or like whatever. So they're not seeing like the crimes he's being charged with. They're only seeing like the people that are still kind of clinging to that idolization of Andrew Tate. Yeah. I got off on a weird topic there.
No. It's a topic to be had, because you also have to understand like they're bringing back this concept. I mean, it's not as if it's left, but they're basically bringing back this concept of like, what is success? Materialism. And it's if you really think about it, it's just you're bringing back the whole idea of success to commodification. They're bringing back success to capitalism. No. What do you have? What do you own? And nothing is like, hey, so it's like, so if Andrew Tate's successful, you have to own a Bugatti to be successful. It's like, what about your dad? Is your dad a fucking beta too?
Yeah.
Is your uncle, your grandfather? You don't know a
Your
single
best
person
friend,
in your
yeah.
life that owns a Bugatti. Are those shitty people? Are those people that have never had success, are
Yeah.
never going to be happy?
Yeah, and also like this is different from when I was a kid. At least, I mean, I can't. This is very anecdotal. It's a very personal situation, so I can't speak for everybody. But like when we were in high school and junior high, we were like complete fucking assholes. Like we were dropping like F-bombs and stuff. Like because that's like, you know, it was the early 2000s, late 90s. And that's no excuse. But like
you would say gay.
We said a lot of shitty stuff, and like kids aren't like that anymore. At least in my experience. I mean, to be fair, we live in Seattle, and I teach in Seattle, so it's like. It's a fairly progressive, like fairly like open-minded place, but like
yeah, dude, I grew up in that too. Like I totally understand. You dropped like the R word.
Yeah, 100%.
Not the hard R on the.
No, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah.
No, I know what you mean. And like people like, dude, that they don't say that anymore. They don't say that gay is no like none of these words are used as any kind of derogatory or like put downs anymore. Like,
yeah, no, which is great.
And like they will like call if like one of they'll self-police and they'll call each other out for that. So like it's a completely different vibe and world, but there is still. So my point to that was that if you kind of really break down the ideology behind Andrew Tate and be like, this is what he thinks of women, this is how he treats women, they're like, oh well, we shouldn't treat women that way, because they understand like patriarchal like power and like, you know, male privilege and stuff and like toxic masculinity. They don't understand it as like these higher concepts, but they understand like kind of the baseline of it. And so if you explain Andrew Tate to them in a way that's like this, they're like, oh, that's not good. And I'm like, yeah. And then they like move on. Yeah. So it's actually pretty like I can tell you it's pretty awesome to have like, if you just actually talk with these kids and like explain it in a very like clear way of like why he's a bad guy, they get it. So that's cool.
Yeah. And then to adults, it's kind of harder to get
it. It is harder to adults. Yeah.
You got it. Cause it's at the end of the day, you're like, okay, what Andrew Tate is about control. It's all just control. Yeah. And the funny thing is the man really has no control over himself, because his whole ideology is just about bashing other women, bashing people to the ground to make himself look higher. So it's almost like, oh, you're just projecting what you were and now you're somebody else. It's like, no, you're still the same person, but you just you don't have enough conscious to, you know, instead of changing yourself, you're just projecting onto the other people to, you know, keep yourself in a higher regard.
Yeah.
And it's low. And I feel like a lot of teenagers, especially teenage boys, do have this problem of like self-image issues.
Oh, 100%.
And they have a problem of control in their life.
Psychologically, it's 100% understandable why they gravitate toward Andrew Tate and kind of people like Andrew Tate. It's like, it makes total sense to me. I understand there's a vacuum, there's a hole that like, and that's like, you know, they're very self-conscious. They're very like they have self-esteem issues. And yeah, if somebody says like, no, there's nothing you need to be self-conscious of. You are the best person. And when you walk into a room, you're the best person in it. They really like connect with that and like, oh yeah, okay. And they want to hear that. And so I understand, I completely understand the psychological like, power behind that. And like intellectually, like Andrew Tate is like a fucking genius. Like, he may not let me rephrase that. He himself may not be like a genius, but like as far as marketing, as far as like the power,
I get that.
Like, he's not an idiot when it comes to that. He's an idiot because he's an idiot. Like, he has dumb views, but like understanding the power of social media, understanding the power of his influence, like he absolutely knows what he's doing. And like he should be like respected and feared for like, in that way. I don't mean like he should be respected and feared as a person. Yeah. Like, I'm actually, to be fair, he's a fairly accomplished kickboxer, so he probably should be feared from somebody like me who's very out of shape. But like, my point is that like you don't underestimate the power of Andrew Tate is kind of what I'm trying to say on young minds. Although he's kind of,
or the power of the propaganda the media Andrew Tate pursues.
I will also say there's another side to that coin where it's like media and trends move so fast at that age that like the current crop of like that age boys don't even know who Andrew Tate is anymore. Like, it's moved so fast. Yeah, like
holy shit, man.
Yeah, like
holy shit.
They were like sixth graders or whatever when he was kind of a thing. So like that they had bigger problems to deal with, and like he's been in prison for like a year and a half now or whatever. So like,
yeah, well, in prison from home, he can still make content.
Yeah, but
that's the thing.
Yeah, but I just mean like I don't know. He's just not. I mean, and this is incredibly personal, and this is maybe also flavored because I moved to Seattle about a year ago. So like, maybe the kids in Seattle aren't as clued in, because when I taught in Arizona, it was also more of a more prevalent. So I don't know. This I should probably veer away from this because this is all anecdotal evidence of my personal existence. So I can't speak for other people who have Andrew Tate in their lives, whether they want it or not.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with the individualistic anecdotal experience.
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, because
if you're trying to talk about statistics and like
the
larger collective,
I'm not trying to convince
of society,
a liberal or something. We're just trying to have a conversation, and it's my podcast, so I can fucking say what I want.
Say what the fuck you want.
Yeah. It's our
Fuck you,
podcast.
Andrew Tate.
Fuck you, Andrew Tate. Yeah. Anyway, ready to move on from Andrew Tate? I don't know.
Sure. How about to another guy that has gone down the wrong path? Okay, so this one is more for our current lefties and
this one's going to be a little referential to the leftist circle.
So we're going to get into a little bit more of like a lefty circle. So if you don't know who this guy is, that is completely fine. A lot of lefties don't know who this guy is.
I will admit I'm not a super well versed in this guy. I'm aware of him. I watched like a couple videos. I've watched some of his stuff. I've read a little bit of his stuff. I'm vaguely aware of who he is, but he is by no means. I don't know much about him.
Yeah. So I'm not super well versed in this guy as well.
Let me say who we're talking about. We're being very cryptic about who
it is.
Well,
you gotta
you're trying to build it up.
All right, build up the tension. Okay, So his name is Slavoj Zizek. He is from Slovenia. He was considered a philosophical leftist for 30-40 years. Over time, he has veered more toward the liberal side, more Eurocentric, NATO, pro-NATO, and I wouldn't say anti-commie, but he's just been pushing.
Not anti-communist, but kind of more pro-imperialist, which is
you'll see. I would say he's more of like in my opinion, like a national socialist. So
that's literally a Nazi. You mean a Nazi?
No. A national socialist is what the Nazis used as their name, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean, though.
But I was talking about like a patriotic socialist.
Oh, like a patso. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. National socialist is not the correct term. He is not a Nazi.
Yeah, a patriotic socialist.
Nor do I claim he is a Nazi.
No, he's not a Nazi.
No, he's a patriotic socialist, so he has socially conservative values from time to time, pretty much all the time. But he is still like a lefty, but I think he's even economically he's shifted more toward a liberal side and left towards, and which I mean it's not surprising. It happens a lot of times when a lot of these lefty philosophers get older, especially with the downfall of Yugoslavia, USSR, Czechoslovakia. There's not people around them surrounding them spewing leftist propaganda, so who do they talk to? They talk to the liberals because it's the closest thing, somewhat closest thing near them. Anyways, we're going to talk about Slavoj Zizek here. This happened recently with Slavoj Zizek. He had a few words that kind of were off-putting, and the left has dropped them at this point.
I went way too far with it.
Here,
you'll see for yourself.
It's clear for Putin he's in no way a leftist, my God. No. He's a dark, conservative, religious fanatic. That's why to provoke people, as you know, I think I said give even nuclear arms to Ukraine. We should read what horrors they are saying, Russian media. They have a full return to religious fundamentalism. They portray the war in Ukraine as the war of Christian civilization against demoniac satanism and so on. Yeah. I mean, they are no less than Arabs. They are today in the worst sense, fanatical religious fundamentalists. Yeah. They have to be stopped unconditionally. This is clear.
Wow. So comparing Russians in a negative way, their Christian fundamentalism, saying they're no worse than Arabs with their religious fundamentalism, which is both like racist and very stereotypical language of like lumping all Arabs just as religious fundamentalists.
We're talking about like almost like half a billion people.
And which is just an insane thing to say just on its surface. Like just taking that aside. That all Arabs are religious fundamentalists. Anybody Trump? That's Trump shit to say like all Arabs are religious. They want to come to America and convert everyone and build a mosque on 9/11, ground zero, whatever.
If you think all Arabs are fundamentalists, go to Beirut to the party scene and tell me they are fundamentalists.
Yeah, go to Abu Dhabi or Dubai.
Go to Dubai. Go to any major city from those countries. It's such a complex societal issue. and then he's just dropping it as if they're all one people. Like if you go to Baghdad in Iraq, a lot more liberal than going to Karbala, which is like the religious site of the Shia Islam, right? Every woman is wearing a complete what is it called?
I don't know hijab, but it's the full thing.
It's like the full what's the term?
I'm blanking.
Yeah, I'm Muslim. I should know this.
Yeah, you're Muslim. What's your excuse? I had a friend who she wore the whole thing. I forget what it's called.
Anyways,
I'll look it up.
While he looks it up, I'll keep going. But so and then if you go to Baghdad, I have friends from Iraq, and they'll tell me, it's like, oh, there's some women that are just not covered at all. Like it's an urban area. So niqab, yes, thank you. It's an urban area. And so there are vast differences within countries, within populations with countries. Then you go to places like, Lebanon. You're saying when he's saying fundamentalist religious, like all Arabs, half of Lebanon is not even Muslim.
Yeah. So that's one insane thing he said there. The other insane thing is to give Ukraine nuclear weapons. That's insane thing number 2.
I do have to go back on the social conservative stuff that he said. Go look in previous videos. We're not going to put it on here, but he says the hard R. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yes.
Oh my God! So he is like a complete racist.
What did you just say?
The N-word?
Yeah. I thought you said the word.
What the fuck? No.
No. I didn't hear properly.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't hear properly. I'm like, did you just
keep one ear off, bro?
I probably should. No. But anyways, he said the hard R, and he said that they gave him the pass because he liked them. I am paraphrasing.
That's
so he is not socially.
So that's overall, but I mean, just in this one 50-second clip or whatever, he said multiple insane, like ludicrous things.
And then when you start talking about Ukraine,
giving Ukraine nuclear weapons to fight these religious fundamentals that are worse than Arabs or no worse than Arabs or whatever he said, that's insane. That's just like dyed in the wool, just pro-imperial. Like, let's use nuclear weapons on our enemy. I mean, what more do you need to say about that?
Yeah, but it just like, listen, man, I am not pro-Russian. Not the Russian people, of course.
Yeah, and
pro-Russian
government. The first 20 seconds of that, where he's saying like Putin's not a leftist, like what they're doing is awful. Yes,
Putin is not a leftist. He is
100%. Putin is like.
He said it himself. He said it to was it George Bush? He's like, "Can we get in the game now? Can we join NATO?" He wanted. I remember I watched a documentary about Putin and his ties to the U.S. government. I'm not saying that he's a CIA agent or anything.
No.
But he had instances where he talked one-on-one with presidents, and I think this was with either Clinton or Bush, and he's like, "Can we join? Can we join NATO? Is that a possibility?" And he's like, "Oh, let me get back to you." And he's like, "Hey man, we are the bourgeoisie democracy. We are a democratic bourgeoisie system. We are not socialists anymore. That we would like to join you, right?" So these guys are not leftists. He is correct on that. Don't get me wrong. But it's just like Alex Jones. He just turns around and be like, "All right, but they are imperialists, so we need to give nuclear weapons to Ukraine." It's like, dude, it's like, are we not trying to avoid all-out nuclear war? I'm like,
I thought we were past this as like humanity.
I'm like,
Putin first came to office in '99. I don't have the month, so I would assume that's probably Bush because he was.
But I 100% like. I watched. I can't remember what it is. Maybe I'll post it up here if I can find it later on. It'll be a tough find though because it was from 6 months ago. But yeah, so he was trying to be part of that whole Western imperialist capitalist state, right? So yes, he's an imperialist. Putin is an imperialist. He is not socialist. He is our enemy as well. But that does not make it right by sending Ukraine nuclear weapons.
The enemy of my enemy is not my friend. Like, that's not always true.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he's not the enemy of my enemy. He's just our enemy.
Yeah, just our enemy. Yeah. It's just one bourgeois state fighting another bourgeois state.
I guess you could say the enemy of our ally doesn't always make...
Yes. The enemy of our ally does not make him our ally.
Yeah.
Right? There's...
I don't know. Doesn't matter. I don't think that tracks, but it's fine.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
No.
I don't think that makes a lot of sense.
The enemy of... Wait.
Okay, we are very tired.
The enemy of our enemy is not our ally. I don't care. We have to look. It's a more complex system.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And what Slavoj Zizek is saying is one imperialist. You can have imperialism against imperialism. Don't forget that. You can have a socialist state fight another socialist state. Don't forget that. Just because they're both socialist states doesn't mean it's not possible.
Yeah.
Right. when the majority of this earth is a capitalist bureaucracy, there's going to be times when bureaucracies are fighting each other. There's going to be times when states are fighting each other. This is that instance. We are on nobody's side. Fuck both those sides. I feel bad for the Ukrainian people.
Yeah. That's what it always comes down to is the working class and the civilians in these countries. They're the ones we stand in solidarity with.
Yes.
Right? It's not about like the governments of Ukraine or the government of Russia that we're like either for or against. And I think that's what a lot of the confusion comes from, especially from liberals, where it's like, oh, you don't support Ukraine, you must support Russia. And it's like, well, no, I support the civilians, and I feel for the civilians, and I also feel for the soldiers on both sides, right? Like fucking Russian conscripts from like, the Caucasus or whatever. It's not like they want to be there.
Fuck yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I want to pop up some of those Twitter.
We'll have to just cut it from the audio, but it's fine.
Yeah, no, it's fine. We don't have to watch the video. I'm just reading the post.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
so
and I will read out what they're saying. So
okay,
cut all this. So shout out to Commie Central.
Commie Central, man.
Yeah, Commie Central. Great page. Follow Commie Central on all platforms. So it's basically this old meme where it's like liberals and communists talking to each other. So this is Commie Central basically putting up this old meme where it's like liberals and commies talking to each other.
Earlier, I thought you said Comedy Central.
No, Comedy Central. Yeah. Commie Central.
Commie Central. I mean, shout out to Commie Central.
Commie Central should start a comedy for just leftists and call it Commie Central.
Yeah,
I think it'd be fun. Liberals and communists. Zizek is like, let's have a nuclear War 3 that will kill billions of people. And then the communists are like, no, let's have a revolution that prevents all of that. And then basically, I'm reading this out for the people that are listening. Yeah. So, and then but he's also saying, are you crazy? That would kill 1,000 rich people. Way too violent. Now get back to World War 3. And then all communists are like, what the fuck is wrong with all of you? Like everything is fucked up.
I saw this one on, I think it was on one of the leftist Instagram accounts. Yeah.
And so you can see here as leftists are dropping this guy. He's like, it's over, man. It's Jover.
Well, I mean, they probably should have dropped him with the hard R from whenever that was. I didn't know about that.
Now, this is where I first saw it. This is, shout out to Gopnik if you ever see this. Volim te brate. So this Zizek was Ugopnik's, like one of Ugopnik's heroes, the people he followed, people that he looked up to. And he said he said that his statements is an attempt to describe a Russian mentality on the Ukraine war. It is the softest remove Netanyahu liberal on the genocide in Gaza too. I'm done with this old guy trying to cling to relevancy with what does that say? Quasi bombastic quotes. Kill your heroes and so on. Good riddance. Yeah. So it's like, don't hold on to your heroes. If they're saying something that you don't like, fuck it. It's over. They're another human being. If they're saying the wrong thing, they're out.
You ever notice the trend, man? We lose all of our heroes. We lost Noam Chomsky. We lost Bernie. We lost
Noam Chomsky was never a fucking
I guess Noam Chomsky was never like a socialist, but
he was an anarchist.
But he was still like, kind of a darling of the left. Like, and so we lose all of our kind of.
To be honest, I've lost Noam Chomsky. Fuck him. Chomsky. I lost that fucker a long time ago because he refused to identify my people's genocide as a genocide.
Really?
He has a lot of pictures with
like
Serbian.
Super pro-Serb? Okay.
So not just super pro-Serb. No, that's one thing to be pro-Serbia. He is a pro-Chetnik. He's pro-fascist Serbians.
Interesting. I don't know why.
He has pictures of like I think it was Slobodan Milosevic. He had pictures with him. The guy who's in the Hague for war crimes.
Yeah.
So
what ties
I
to
don't know, man.
Serbia or like the Serbian fascists does Chomsky have?
I genuinely don't know, but Bosnians fucking hate the guy. And I didn't even know. He has railed that it's not a genocide. It's not a genocide. It's like, oh, we have to be careful what we constitute as a genocide.
It's insane.
So I don't give a fuck that guy. I don't give a fuck what you think about me saying fuck Noam Chomsky, but fuck Noam Chomsky. Yeah. Hope he breaks his fucking hip. I don't give a fuck. And I don't mean nobody should go and break his hip, for quality YouTube standards. I mean, if he breaks and falls his hip, I hope nobody sees it or picks him up.
Yeah, how
but
old
fuck
is
that guy.
Chomsky? So you have personal beef with Chomsky.
Yeah, 100%.
For ethnic.
Here's the thing, man.
95 years old. He's 95.
It's like.
Well, I didn't know he was that old. I was gonna say like late 70s. Jesus Christ.
He is the liberal. What's his fuck face that just died? Henry Kissinger.
He's a liberal Henry Kissinger.
Yeah, he's a real leftist, man. Like he wrote.
Yeah. He hasn't been a leftist for. I mean, he was like. Didn't he have some really shit takes on the Iraq War like 20 years ago? Yeah.
They're all fucking married.
I want to say he like was he wasn't like I don't want to misquote him because that would be unfair, but I think I want to say that he was like not opposed to the Iraq War at some point. Like he wasn't maybe like pro Iraq and Afghanistan, but he was like American. Whatever.
If it happens, you know.
Yeah, I remember he had like a shit take on the Iraq War. I
don't think he likes Muslims. That's
just what it comes down to. Maybe
I think this is my personal opinion. I don't think he likes Muslims, and so I just don't know why he had anything to do with the fucking the Chetniks. And so I fucking hate him for that. And then when I found out he, you know, the whole Epstein Island issue.
Oh right, I forgot about that too.
I was like, it's a Jover for this guy.
Yeah.
Fuck this guy, and I told you so.
Yeah, the left loses all our darlings, man.
Yeah, we don't have You know who our darlings were?
Marx, Lenin, Stalin.
Marx, Lenin, Stalin.
Oh, I got a new Mao book coming tomorrow.
You know?
I've never had a copy of Quotations by Chairman Mao.
Yeah.
So I finally ordered one.
Fuck yeah.
Got my little red book. My Mao's little red book.
Fucking revolutionaries, man. Mao, Tito, Hoxha. These are people that not only said things but fucking stood up and fought, like physically fought on the fucking battlefield.
And if you're new to leftism and you're looking for something to read, I'm gonna recommend a book.
Yeah. I'll try to zoom in there for you.
Yeah, zoom in there. The Classics of Marxism, Volume 1 and Volume 2. You can get these anywhere. They're nice little compilations. They do have some Trotsky in there, so just rip those pages out. But it's a really good, like, I will say the Classics of Marxism, Volume 1. I don't know who publishes it. It's by Well Read Books, but the red is R-E-D because it's, you know.
Nice.
A commie. It's got Communist Manifesto by Marx, Socialism, Utopian and Scientific by Engels, Lenin, State and Revolution, and then Transitional Program by Trotsky, but you can skip that last one. And then the second one has, Volume 2 also has some really good Lenin in here. It has Wage, Labor, and Capital from Marx, Value, Price, and Profit, Marx, Left-Wing Communism and Infantile Disorder, and then it has, by Lenin, and then it has 2 Trotskys, which again, you can ignore those. If you can skip the Trotskys and ironically move straight on to...
Read the Trotskys.
Read the Trotskys?
Read the Trotskys, because you want to know who.
Well, I will say Transitional Program is fine.
There's nothing wrong with reading. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with reading something that doesn't, that you don't pertain to or that you don't believe in, or because you need to know what people are saying. You know, for example, Aristotle or Seneca or these type of people. A lot of these people were pro-slavery. But you can open the book and still see some value of what they were saying from 2,000 years ago. But you could also, when somebody quotes something from Seneca, you know what they're saying. You become educated. There's nothing wrong with reading, right? Sure. But just read with nuance that what this man is saying. Like, for example, Trotsky, it's a little iffy, right?
Well, he was also kind of he was a shitty guy. I mean, he had like, not child pornography, like, but there's just allegations of like abuse and like, you know, he just was kind of not the best guy.
Yeah.
So you can ignore him. But then if you want to read on next, I don't know, this isn't really a book recommendation channel, but the two yellow, the yellow here and that there is Foundations of Leninism by Stalin, and then Dialectical Materialism by Stalin. And then that's just Communist Manifesto and Principles of Communism by Engels. Read them all.
If these types of books are very hard for you to read, I do recommend reading any Richard Wolff's books.
Yeah.
He breaks it down very simply, or just go watch his lectures.
Yeah, we talked about this with socialist, Islamic socialists last week, which is like not idolizing these guys. And I will say, you'll never catch me say you shouldn't read these guys, because you should. Their theory is invaluable. But I also say that there's like, that's not to discount modern kind of theory and modern economy and economists. And Richard Wolff is probably like the leading modern economist in terms of like
Marxian.
It's just Marxian economics. Like he just understands.
He's in Haiti right now.
Yeah, I was watching Richard Wolff like lectures like when I was in college and like when I was like young. So like he's been doing it for a long time, and the guy knows what he's talking about when it comes to Marxian economics. That went off on a weird tangent. We were talking about not in Verhofstadt. What's his name?
Trotsky?
No, the Arab racist guy.
Slavoj Zizek.
Zizek, yeah.
Yeah.
In Verhofstadt.
Yeah.
Yeah, you ready to move on to our final topic?
Yes. Final topic of the day.
Just more shitty updates from Palestine.
We got to keep you guys updated. We can't just forget about this.
Yeah, I'll never not mention Palestine, just in terms of at least just keeping it, because that's like the biggest fear is like the conversation dying and people losing interest in moving on, like they did with kind of the BLM.
I don't think this will.
Movement.
I don't think this will.
You wouldn't have thought so in the summer of 2020. You didn't think that was ever going to end, right? And then now nobody gives a shit.
No, I think this is a whole different thing.
I will never underestimate the apathy of the American people. So
the American people is not the entire world.
I understand.
That's all I got to say.
But I mean, like, the Americans are the ones that, well,
there's one thing is like, when George Floyd died and you saw that on live or like on television on video, that's one thing. But seeing 40,000 people brutally murdered live television and nothing is being done.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a whole nother thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. The whole problem with the government being so anti African American community and everything is really bad. But like, this is just like, so open bombing airfields. Like, this is like, like so open out and out there that it's like, you can't hide it. At least with like the problems in our society here with like, anti-Black Lives Matter movements. They weren't like openly killing people in the streets, like just with machine guns.
Fair enough. Yeah, it wasn't that brazen.
And this is like very global versus this was very national news. So
yeah, that's fair.
Anyways,
you ready? Want to do this video?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna read this since it's in Arabic. I'm gonna read it for all the people listening. The occupation forces bulldozed the journalist tent. Then infantry forces secured the place using laser snipers and all sorts of weapons. We had no choice but to surrender, fearing that the occupation forces might commit a massacre or summary executions or even direct shooting. Despite that, the press sign was displayed on the room, making clear that it is a room for journalists. We had to surrender and exit the room. After that, the occupation forces compelled us to completely strip off our clothes and kneel on the ground and place our hands between our heads for almost an hour. Very cold weather. After that, the occupation forces handcuffed and blindfolded us for about 12 hours from the early morning to the afternoon until the arrival of Israeli military intelligence units. They interrogated the journalists that work at this location. We were left in the room we were kept in, where we stayed for several hours in cold conditions, naked, blindfolded, and handcuffed for 12 hours without any mercy from the occupying forces or even returning some of the clothes. Some crew and staff were interrogated while I managed to help an elderly man and make my way out of the hospital compound. There have been immense efforts to release the crew and staff members. Until this moment, conditions are very difficult with heavy presence of the occupation forces inside the hospital. Okay, so to summarize basically what's going on, what we're talking about is, and I think it was Rafah, there was a group of journalists that were literally just arrested by Israeli military forces and just thrown for 12 hours into like basically a cell of some sort where they had no mercy, no clothes. They were literally just bare naked, face down, handcuffed, blindfolded.
Yeah, I think one thing to highlight is he said like the room they were all clearly marked press. The room was clearly marked press. Like, journalists and medical personnel are supposed to have like certain allowances in wartime. Not that this is a war, but like in any kind of conflict, like journalists are supposed to be off limits. That's kind of I was going to say unwritten rule. It's not an unwritten rule. It's a literal rule. It's a UN. It's a war crime to kill a journalist. So like it's, journalists are supposed to be off limits, but Israel has proven time and time again, the Israeli forces have proven time and time again that they just don't care. Like they've killed well over 100 journalists. I think it's well documented now that the journalists are up to like 120 journalists have been murdered by the IDF. So they have no qualms about attacking press, or which is essentially kidnapping press extrajudiciously and just holding them, detaining them for their amusement, for just because they can. Yeah,
if not killing them, like harassing them.
Yeah.
Basically torturing them. That's what that is right there. For 12 hours, they were basically tortured.
Yeah, I mean, stripped, naked, blindfolded, held in cold rooms. Like that's literal torture.
And this is Al Jazeera. This is not even Palestinian. This is basically an international news crew from multiple different countries, and they're all just stripped naked and basically tortured. That is a war crime. So I'm just trying to throw out like all the documentations of war crime after war crime after war crime, and nothing is being done. It's very out in the open.
Yeah, UN says it's, quote, it stands against, end quote, harassment of journalists after Al Ghul's arrest, as a rights group. Committee to Protect Journalists calls indecent, quote, deliberate attempts to cover up Israeli assault on the Al Shifa hospital. Yeah, I mean, the UN says it stands against harassment, but like the UN is toothless, and like yes, doing this, this in particular may not constitute a war crime, but like targeting journalists is a war crime. The UN at any moment could intervene, but they, time and time again, because of American and British imperialism, just choose not to.
Yeah, and not to mention, like, after they were apprehended, all of their media equipment was destroyed. Yeah. So even if they were, once they were kicked out, they had nothing to film with, so they would have to go back out to wherever they're going, if they can go back out.
Yeah, and what this is obviously just an attempt to just cover up all of the other war crimes that are being done, right? If you don't have anybody filming your war crimes, you don't get convicted of war crimes.
Exactly.
So you got to target the journalists. You got to take the people with the cameras out first.
Exactly. So I want to make sure that this is fucking out there somewhere, because I've not seen many people talk about this.
There has been some leftist accounts on like Instagram and Twitter posting about it, but it's with that video we watched was an Al Jazeera video, and there hasn't been a ton reported on this from like CNN or anything. So
that's why I want to make sure our viewers are like up to date, like what's going on.
And we can end with some stats here. You have you've compiled some more information about just kind of this ongoing genocide in Gaza.
This is the most just recent numbers I can find. So the death toll now is officially over 30,000. But this doesn't account to missing people and people under rubble. And so with that added, it would be about 40,000 people dead.
Yeah, and I think that number last I saw was soft. Like they're considering it's probably like there's more. There's a lot more missing or displaced or just unaccounted for, and they could be in certain refugee camps. They could be displaced, but they could also be dead. Yeah. So that number may be much higher. Yeah, that's a very conservative estimate.
So 40,000 people, for fuck's sake. And then that's from all those dead, 13,000 children. And then we always forget to mention that, like, yes, there are people that have died from this genocide, but we never throw out the numbers for casualties or injuries. So there's about 74,000 people plus that are injured. So 100,000 people are either dead or injured, and by injured that means they got shot but survived, they lost an arm, they lost an eye, they've been somehow debilitated from this genocide that is going on. And okay, 100,000 people injured or dead. Then we look at like how big is Gaza? Gaza is not a large mass of land, right? And I think there's something like 2.3, 2.7
people in Gaza.
Yeah,
2.2. I thought
2.2 million people in Gaza. 1.9 million people are displaced.
That's almost 100% of the people in Gaza.
Yeah,
it's like 90%.
Yeah, and so this is the article that I read. I believe this from the NPR. So I tried to find the least biased, even though it's biased. But by displaced, it just really means fucking homeless. Due to war. And so 3/4 of northern Gaza is completely destroyed.
Yeah.
And half the buildings in the densely populated areas in Gaza are destroyed.
And to put that in perspective, Gaza is not really big to begin with. Gaza is only 25 miles along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, by a couple miles inland. So it's like kind of long, thin strip. You should really just Google it. But it's about 140 square miles, give or take, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not that big.
I think it's like the Seattle metropolitan area.
Yeah, it's kind of the same. Like if you look at a map of Seattle, how it's long and narrow, it's about 25. But yeah, from like Northgate to SeaTac, it's about 25 miles, 30 miles, give or take. And then it's probably 3 to 5 miles wide at any given moment. So it's almost exactly the same shape, barring like the goofy.
Yeah. Inlets. So imagine 100,000 people are dead or injured in Seattle. Yeah. 100,000.
And 3/4 of it rubble.
Yeah, like northern Seattle.
The northern Seattle, yeah.
Complete rubble.
It's just insane. Yeah. It's insane, and like this has to give soon, right? Like surely we've been at this for, this major offensive since October 7th.
I don't want to like say it, but I did see something earlier today. I have no actual confirmation, so I won't put it out as fact. An Iraqi militant group used drones to shoot down into Israel.
Wow.
I just saw this like an hour ago before we started this.
Well, what do we do? What do we do? Next episode we make about kind of Arab response and Arab and Middle East at large in general response and like I guess response to Palestinian struggle, because we've been threatening to get in on the Houthis and see what's going on with Yemen and Yemen's response. Now there's an Iraqi response. What if we kind of like
the geopolitics,
the geopolitical response to Palestine from their Arab neighbors? We can maybe go a little bit further into Houthis, which we haven't really touched on too much. Talk about because I know there's been some Egyptian movement and a lot of Egyptian news. Well, not a lot, but there's been some Egyptian stuff going on.
I feel like that's a whole ass
that's like a whole research dissertation.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Let's make that into a video essay.
Yeah, sure.
That sounds really good.
Maybe
And then we can actually put up like
because I'm still writing a lot about Lenin, so maybe that's a little ambitious for a week.
But I like that idea though.
Yeah, we should.
The geopolitics of the Middle East and how it counts to Israel.
Yeah, and how it specifically like how it is or isn't beneficial to Palestine or like in the Palestinian struggle for liberation.
Yeah. Oh, well, this is a good time to also pitch in the idea that we are going to start a Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about it and we decided to start it at 100 followers. Subscribers on YouTube, sorry. So if you're not listening on YouTube, you should come and subscribe.
Yeah, if you're listening on the audio version, go over to the YouTube channel. If you like us on the audio, even if you don't watch the YouTube, just throw us a subscribe just so we can get some numbers up.
It'll help us out.
Yeah.
So what we are trying to do is not only do weekly episodes, but maybe once a month we want to throw out a video essay. And something like this, we can do something like this where it's like the geopolitics of the Middle East. Yeah. I still want to do that Yugoslavia video to be really cool.
Yeah, I still want to do like a whole breakdown of teaching in America as a Marxist. I think that's just an interesting perspective.
And then we can actually provide you guys these video essays. And maybe we provide it to you early on the Patreon before giving it anywhere else.
Yeah, we've talked about like other stuff, like coming on, being a guest on the podcast, like early access, being a guest, just Q&A sessions, things like that. There's a lot of stuff we can offer in terms of goodies.
Yeah, because I mean, like, yeah, we would love to take some money so we can upgrade this podcast.
Yeah, again, and like we mentioned a couple episodes ago, at no point will it ever go into anything personal other than
reinvested in the capital
gear
sense
here.
back.
Yeah, for this. And then we talked about like anything we have over would be donated to a Palestinian causes. Would be donated to a Palestine.
We could put what the goal is to obtain.
Yeah.
So for example, it was like, oh, we need a new camera. This camera is $1,500. If somebody if it's at $1,400 and somebody donates $200, we'll take the camera and then the $100.
What people have been asking for with our taxes for a long time was to be able to like enter your social security number and actually see where your taxes went to, like how many F-14 bombers did your tax dollars buy or whatever. Like that would be cool to be transparent. But I just had a thought. We should have like a $2 tier, which is just like support the channel, $2 a month. We should also have like a $5 tier where half that money just automatically goes to Palestine. So it's still a $2 for us, but $3 goes to Palestine. So you can actually like if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
and then if you want,
if you want the ultimate tier,
the ultimate tier would be like $20 a month, but still $5 of it goes to Palestine or whatever. So like we're always shaving the same percentage off for a Palestinian cause, so it's not always all going to us. Maybe we could like play with like the numbers and see.
Yeah, we'll keep you guys updated, and if this eventually ends, inshallah, hopefully this ends soon.
Yeah,
with the whole genocide that's going on, we can switch that to something else of a good cause that's going on.
For sure. There's always American imperialism going on somewhere in the world.
Always, baby.
Anyway, with that all said, give us a follow give us a subscribe on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, share the video with a friend if you're listening on the audio version. Make sure to give us a 5-star review and leave a review. That definitely helps our numbers. It kind of helps the algorithms kind of pick us up and get recommended to other people. So we really appreciate that.
We are growing, man. We're genuinely growing. It's slow, but it's steady.
Yeah,
and I am really honestly also surprised how many people are actually listening to our audio and video. It's almost about the same number. And so whenever I think about like where our numbers are at, I have to double
it.
Yeah, which is great, and we appreciate all of you guys.
Really appreciate it. Yeah.
When we started this, I didn't think we'd have people that would actually listen to us and everything. Yeah. But we're getting. I'm getting comments. We're getting
we're making friends. We're joining like these other groups of people of like-minded individuals. We're having really good guests on. We've had Mike from Turn Leftist, Sally Hates Capitalism, Islamic Socialist. We have some other guests. Kind of we're putting some feelers out. So we got some cool stuff coming. But for all of our information, for all of our episode release dates, our shorts, everything, go ahead and go follow us on our socials.
I'm excited, man. I'm ramp me up. I'm like, let's do this.
It's getting pumped. Head over to Instagram. Give us a follow on Instagram. Give us a follow on Twitter, although Twitter's kind of dying. Yeah. Give us a follow on TikTok. Revolutionary Rhetoric. Wherever you get your stuff. TikTok does not like us. YouTube Shorts also really doesn't like us. But our Instagram, Instagram,
I think that's our main thing right now. It's going to be our Instagram.
Instagram's growing the fastest.
Yeah. I'm surprised. I thought it was going to be TikTok.
Thought it was going to be TikTok. Yeah, TikTok we're having some problems with.
Maybe this
TikTok might get banned.
Yeah. Maybe this will good.
Maybe it won't matter. Yeah. Anyway, man.
Love you guys.
Thanks as always. Have a great night.
Yeah. Take it easy, guys.
Bye.